Being eaten by a shark has never been more fun. Hello there, I'm Squawk, and welcome to my review of Batman Arkham City. Before we get into this, I have to note that ignore my scores for Batman Arkham Asylum and Simpsons Hit and Run. I was being way too generous. I have a new marking system. The total score's out of 100, but I am now extremely strict, and I've sort of broken the categories down a little bit. So enjoy or don't enjoy, it's up to you.
Graphics.
First up to get the new strict Squawker treatment is Arkham City's graphics, which at a glance are excellent. Like Arkham Asylum, the colours and tones used paint a very surreal picture and even create weird acid trip-out worlds in some situations. But from this plethora of graphical orgasmicums, here are three things that I really loved about the graphics. Firstly, the interface. It's so much better than the Arkham Asylum interface. I mean, I liked the Arkham Asylum interface very much, but I love the slick modern design for this game. It makes me less aware that I'm playing a video game, and I feel much more closer to actually being the Bat. Secondly, the new and improved detective mode. While once more I liked Arkham Asylum's detective mode, when you compare it to the detective mode of Arkham City, it looks like cheap shit. Arkham City's detective mode looks way more realistic, and while it takes some time to get used to, you will find it so much more helpful. And when you think about it, it actually looks a bit like the detective mode thing off The Dark Knight with the sonar phone thingy, except there's more colours. Thirdly, the game has done away with generic henchmen. There are now distinctive crews in Arkham City with several henchman uniforms in even some classes, plus some really cool armoured henchmen, plus the security forces in the game look amazing. Of course, there's limited henchman skins, and you will obviously probably encounter the same henchman twice, but at least there's more variation than in Asylum. And now, the criticisms. I don't want to do this, but I found two issues with the graphics, but neither of them are game breakers. Firstly, popping textures are more common in Arkham City than in Arkham Asylum because, well, they only occur when loading in a new area, and they disappear very quickly, and luckily they never really tend to affect the character models from my experiences, just really the environment. It can be a little bit annoying when you zoom in though, because sometimes buildings will go into soft focus for no reason at all, and that's really the only graphical glitches I encountered in my, two playthroughs I did to research this. Everything else just works like clockwork. Secondly, I'm not all there with Batman's design in this game. I mean, he's still got his stupid new Batman Adventures uniform. He thinks he's Superman with his underpants. And there's just something about the chin. He's shaved. He looks so much younger than he did in Asylum. That chin looked better. That's my opinion, but to be honest, I didn't like his chin in Arkham City. But I still have to give massive credit for the damage his suit takes in the game, though. I mean, his destruction's damn realistic, as well as the other destruction physics in the game. I could go into so much more detail though over these graphics, but there's still such more to cover in this game, so a few honourable mentions of good stuff before I score the graphics. Where there's almost seamless cinematic to gameplay transitions. I love the Mad Hatter's design, and that water is pretty damn watery.
Gameplay.
The gameplay is great. It has built upon all the good things in Asylum and has improved many features drastically. The remote control Batarang is much easier to control, the gliding controls are absolutely sublime, and the AI of a henchman has been vastly improved, and you also have a much bigger stomping ground. In Predator sequences, henchmen are much smarter and much more tactical, and even come with a few specialisations, making each Predator sequence a unique, strategic and incredibly challenging, yet fun situation. In open combat, once more, there are more henchman variations, and they also seem to be much smarter than the henchmen in the previous game. But on top of all this, Batman not only has amazing new gadgets, but they are also now easier to utilise in combat situations thanks to very simple quick fire shortcuts, making for much more interesting fights. And also once you learn the Very easy to learn controls and master them. You will be popping gadgets and henchmen like there is no tomorrow. The boss fights are a bit of a mixed bag though. I mean, they look amazing and the fights create a really tense atmosphere, but I found that the majority of the boss fights relied on just one tactic, which was just spamming your latest fancy gadget at the boss and just basically holding out against its attacks. This repetitiveness was pretty annoying, considering that in the bosses they told me which gadget to use. I felt like the game just wanted to kind of hold my hand in these bosses, but I find that really the part of the challenge of a boss fight is really just to work the weakness out for yourself and not being told it. But then again, the Mr.Freeze boss makes up for this, because it is freaking terrifying. I mean, even on hard mode, you will have a very slim chance of surviving. It just does not quit. I mean, have fun trying to figuring it out and try not to die. Final comments on the gameplay. I'd say the combat controls can sometimes be a little bit unresponsive, and a double counter move seems to be slightly glitched. Selecting a gadget can be a little awkward, and at times the free flow combat is a little bit stodgy, but apart from that, it's almost all good.
Sound.
Well, I'll say it straight up, the music is epic. It's just so cool, especially the Predator music, which picks up, drops down, depending on the henchman situation. But the one underlying complaint with the music is whilst there is music playing in the background during story mode, and it's at the right level, and it plays while you're wandering around Arkham City, but once you finish the main plot and go to mop up the remaining Riddler trophies and side quests, there's no music at all while roaming around. Hell, there's no music if I started wailing on a big gang of inmates, and it makes the combat after the story somewhat boring. Sound effects are toned down a little in a good way. They're not distracting anymore, and they help keep the player in the mindset of being Batman rather than being aware they're playing a game. But I really didn't like the sound effects made by the explosive gel. It just didn't click with me. As for voice acting and dialogue, it's very close to perfect. The henchmen have loads of stuff to say, and it's pretty cool to pick up their conversations as you fly around, which gives you intel on the story and other important happenings in Arkham City. And some of the stuff they say is pretty damn funny. To be honest, all the humour on the game is on target, even when there's like a large deal of it coming from the henchmen and not the Joker. And hell, there's Alfred. Alfred equals funnies right there. But the big nasty in this little garden of speech goodness is Harley fucking Quinn. And you know what? I don't have to explain it. I found one of Joker's henchmen to do it for me.
You boys will be the ones to stop Batman once and for all. Obviously, you'll be needing my help to do it.
Man, that woman is the most annoying voice I've ever heard.
Oh, and I kind of like Penguin's Cockney accent. It grew on me, especially when you hear his laugh. It's just so cruel.
Hold still, boy!
Story.
Possibly the best story ever. The story is amazing. It has really good twists that you will never see coming, and the story also really generates the feels as you play through the game. The basics of the story is a controversial new super prison which has been built in the heart of Gotham City, and it's spiralling out of control while this mysterious warden, Hugo Strange, makes plans for something he calls Protocol 10. What is amazing though is that there are in fact two main stories going on, one which looks at Hugo Strange and his Protocol 10, and the other which focuses on the Arkham gang wars and the events which will result on the crisis back at Arkham Island. And what I love so much of this game is that it actually seals up all plot holes by making the Arkham stories which you uncover by solving riddles, which covers everything between the two games. So, why can't I give this story a perfect mark? Well, probably the side quests is what the letdown is. I mean, they're a bit disorientating and some are definitely not interesting at all in my opinion. And you can do them after the game, which is a bit sucky considering some of the side quests are actually very linked directly to the game, and on your first playthrough you may not know which side quests are linked to the main story. And secondly, I really love Two-Face and Penguin in this game, but I can't help but feel that Joker felt like a bit of an attention whore in this game. Because I mean, Two-Face was planning some serious misdeeds, but early in the game, zip, see you have. Same goes for Penguin. He has like a medium role in the story, but I couldn't feel a little bit disappointed that such a cruel villain was being watered down. And the same also goes for a few other villains in the game who are in the game but just there. But the thing that makes up for this, I think, is also I loved the much more fleshed out and darker Riddler in this game. He was a very good character.
Replayability.
Well, the area where Arkham Asylum fell short proved to be little of a problem for Arkham City. There are loads of things to do in this game, such as the already mentioned side quests, which take up quite a bit of time to do. But there are 400 Riddler challenges. 400. These trophies are much better hidden, and they are much harder to obtain this time, as there is no Riddler map. You can interrogate henchmen, which is a little trickier process, I think, and it's also much better. And there are the Riddler rooms. Oh yeah, Riddler's pissed. He has hostages, and unless you solve his rooms, you are not getting those hostages back. And the rooms are reasonably challenging as well, but I did find them to be a little bit of a breeze, so either I'm intelligent as a Riddler, but I think I'm going to sit with a theory that maybe they were a little bit too easy. Completing Riddler challenges also gives you access to a bunch of goodies, such as amazing concept art, patient interview tapes, and also they really flesh out the personalities of these inmates through the interview tapes, and it also increases how much of our understanding of how they fit into the story and their relationship towards Hugo Strange. And on top of this, there's a new game mode which allows you to replay the story, except you are forced to play on hard mode, which is very, very difficult, by the way. And there are specialised henchmen everywhere. And there's also a new variant being introduced into Predator sequences when you do them on this horrible new game mode. I mean, you might not play this for the story, but it's well worth playing it for the challenge. And challenge mode has also been massively improved from Arkham Asylum. The original formula has been retained, but not only are the Predator challenges much more interesting and take full advantage of Batman's new gadgets, but it's kind of fun to listen to the Riddler order henchmen around. And on top of this, there's also a campaign mode, which is a string of challenge maps, but with interesting game-changing modifiers, which you get to strategically implement. And while at first it looks like it's easy, trust me, it's not easy. And it's pretty fun to experiment with the modifiers, because you are also allowed to make custom challenges. And it's really fun just to really just play around with these and see how hard you can make your challenge. Of course, this game does have the point of boredom, which is where you just can't be bothered playing it anymore. Maybe it's too hard, or you've done everything you can, and there'll be nothing to do apart from replaying Riddler challenges, or maybe just wail on a few henchmen. But it takes a very long time to reach this in Arkham City, and that's without using DLCs as well. Because there was one in Arkham Asylum, the point of boredom I felt you reach very early, mainly because when you finish a game there's nothing to do apart from challenge mode. And now for score. Well, I hope you enjoyed or didn't enjoy this review. I have to say this is actually one of probably the best games ever in terms of story. So that's about it. If you would like, I have a playthrough of the game, I'll leave a link to that, and a playthrough of Arkham Origins, which I'm starting soon. Goodbye.